Over the next hour, we're about to take you through one of the most bizarre sequels in the annals of American history. Netflix's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How was that? I did my best opening.
That was the best opening I've seen so far.
It actually was not even close. But what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad.
And I'm Miguel.
And this is episode number 62. This is our full spoiler and non-spoiler review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the newest sequel to the original, but also a sequel, but it's not bypassing all the other sequels. But it's still going to be a sequel, but not to the sequels, only to the original.
That was a headache and a half, dog.
Let's be honest. The continuity of this franchise is a headache and a half. So, I mean...
Bro, you right, though.
What are you going to do? Listen, this movie was not as bad as I was expecting. If you think back to the test screenings from 6 months ago and everything that was coming out about Texas Chainsaw Massacre months and months ago, I was like, hot nights in Texas, man. Literally, this is gonna be like licking the inside of a dumpster. But it surprised me in a few areas. I'm gonna say something in a few minutes that I think might shock a lot of people, and I'm probably listen. You know, a lot of times you joke around that you say the things that make horror fans mad. I think tonight I might say the things that make horror fans mad, and it's not necessarily dogging on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, but it's I'm not going to dog on it because it wasn't quite that bad. I think it actually did a lot of things really well, but we will talk about it. We'll give our non-spoiler thoughts first, just kind of our general thoughts about the film, and then we'll definitely give you guys the spoiler warning. It'll be up top, so look above our pretty faces up at the top of the screen, and you'll see the spoiler warning. So, Miguel, buddy, happy Tuesday. How are you?
Doing good, buddy. I'm ready to talk about this, and I'm not gonna lie, we are probably gonna piss off some people. Well, okay, granted, no, hold on. I am basing this like. I saw this movie probably literally about 24 hours ago, and I get why there were so many mixed reviews. I get why people say it was dope, it was a fun ride, and I also get why some people thought this was straight dog water. I totally get both sides.
Yeah.
This would be fun because one, I'm not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, not really. But
you're really not a fan of this franchise, are you?
I'm really not. It's just I don't know how I feel. I don't know. We'll probably talk about it, but I just can't figure out why I'm not a fan of this franchise.
I'm interested to see, especially because and kind of a shameless plug here. We are almost done with season 1 of Purely and Simply Evil. We've got 3 episodes left, and we are going to talk the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween H2O, and then Halloween Resurrection. And that'll bring us through all of the Halloweens. We'll have made our way through every single one. We'll come back and hit Rob Zombies maybe this October, just because we've already done commentaries for those. we just haven't done like an actual sit down breakdown of the movie on an episode of Purely and Simply Evil. So we'll come back to those. We'll hit the producer's cut of H6. We'll do some of those things like around Halloween time. But I'm interested, at least for the first film, definitely for the first film and for the reboot and its prequel, which I will stand by this. I think that the remake is arguably better than the original. And I don't say that lightly. I know how iconic the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is. It's one of the most iconic movies of all time. I mean, it's one of those movies I believe that the Library of Congress has vaulted as being like one of the most iconic pieces of cinema ever, which is funny because if you think, or if you know about the history behind how that movie was made, it was dark times, man. It was not that production was not at all done very. I mean, I don't know.
It was pretty much the same way as it pretty much is a.
It was pretty gross.
Dip can that you find under your truck, on a hot summer day. That's what it looked like.
I mean, the actors, had to leave the set to puke between takes because, they were picking up live roadkill. They were picking up real roadkill to use in shots, and they were using real animal bones and real animal parts, and between the Texas heat and the stank coming out of that Sawyer house. I mean, I'm sure it was wild. So it's funny that something with such a troubled, not even troubled production, just something that
uncomfortable, dog. That's uncomfortable is the minimalist way to say it.
Something that was so uncomfortable and so gruesome can have such an impact on cinema, not even just on horror, on cinema. I mean, this is again probably one of the most iconic movies ever made. So
yeah.
And this movie had big shoes to fill, obviously. And as we know, the Texas Chainsaw sequels have kind of a reputation for not even kind of maybe sort of coming close to living up to the original's reputation. So,
well, how do you recreate something so barbaric? I don't know. Nobody wants to make a movie like that. Barbaric or nasty or trash. Yeah. No, not trash. But you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying. I know, yeah.
But how do you recreate that and still? I mean, still tell a good story? That's what I mean. Yeah, the first one was really impactful and is probably gonna stick around for generations to come. But for fuck's sakes, dogs, the fucking sequels that I've been keeping track of. It's like what you told me. You told me today. Dave McRae, he says everybody wants a sequel until they realize sequels get trashier every other installment. It's pretty much.
You can keep wanting more, but eventually they're gonna have nowhere else to go but these wild and crazy stories that everybody hates. You're gonna get your Halloween Resurrection, you're gonna get Texas Chainsaw The Next Generation, you're gonna get Jason Takes Manhattan, because you're on the 8th installment of a franchise. How do you retell the same story so many times?
The horse is gone at this point. You're over beating the dead horse so much that it's fucking gone. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. This will be a good discussion. I'm excited to really dive and sink the blades of this chainsaw down into it. So before we talk Texas Chainsaw, this just happened today. By the way, I almost said Laurie Strode. Jamie Lee Curtis has filmed her final scene as Laurie Strode. She officially wrapped in Halloween Ends today. Her character, Halloween Ends, is not wrapped, but Jamie Lee Curtis's role has wrapped. She has filmed her final scene. So, I had texted a screenshot of that to Miguel and to my parents earlier, and my dad had said, name an actor or an actress who has played a character for that long. I mean, she has embodied Laurie Strode for 44 years. That's a big deal.
She's pretty
cool, man. That's awesome.
She's the head scream queen too, isn't she?
Oh, she is. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. People can say it's Sidney Prescott. People can say it's Nancy Thompson. No, it's not. It's Laurie Strode. It's Jamie Lee Curtis. It's just gonna be. She even outdid her mom. I'm sorry, but she did. For most iconic women in horror, she outdid her mom.
Yeah, I could see that now. I mean, you can't deny that Psycho was literally the one of the most important horror flick of
Oh, of
that
course it was.
generation.
Yeah,
So
I mean, of course it was. But I think that's kind of cool. I think anytime you have a character that you've played for that long, um,
and
I,
still
I'm
enjoy it. That's what's
yeah,
crazy.
I'm sure it's got to be an emotional thing to say goodbye to that character. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what happens to her character. We don't know if she dies, if she lives, if she dies. I mean, who knows? Just because her her role in the production is over, that doesn't mean that her character dies, or that doesn't mean that she's barely in the movie. You have to remember, 99% of the times these movies are filmed out of order. Movies are filmed out of order. They're not filmed from beginning to end. I mean, they might. It just depends on locations. I think it depends on cast and crew. It depends on who can get where and what equipment they. I mean, I think there's a lot of things. So, just pretty cool. Congratulations to Jamie Lee Curtis on 44 years of Laurie Strode. So, thought that needed to be said.
Cheers, Queen.
Yep. You know what? Cheers to Laurie Strode. Hashtag we are Laurie Strode.
Oh God.
As she
If I hear that chanting in the fucking movie, I'm walking out. This is.
Could you imagine? That's going to be the new Evil Dive tonight. It's we are Laurie Strode. You're gonna get Allison running through a hospital. We are Laurie Strode. You know.
Yeah, like honestly, like, and I don't even believe those chants anymore because you obviously see like Evil dies tonight. Evil did not die that night. So where are we going with this, guys?
So.
Like y'all were wrong.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's talk Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Miguel, your overall non-spoiler thoughts on the movie. Just
Dog
overall.
I'm fuck. I told myself I would like try to be as like, respectful to the horror like franchise as a whole. I can be respectful to it. But in regards to this movie, I could tell why it got bombarded on the test screening. Like I could tell. I could tell immediately. Like just the overall vibe of the movie is fine. Like there are certain aspects where it's like, how can I say this? There's been multiple times in this movie where I felt withdrawn from the movie because when you watch a movie, you kind of want to be like, you want to feel like you're in it, or like you want to like enjoy the ride and whatnot. There's been multiple situations where I felt withdrawn from the movie, and I didn't really like that. I will say that there are other aspects in this movie, characters included, that I did like. Overall, if you like bloody gore, hey, this movie's for you. Like, I don't know what to fucking tell you, dog. It's not dirty or grimy by any means in regards to like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it does provide you with enough blood and gore to satisfy your needs or whatever fucking weird shit y'all are into. So like, I don't know. It's overall, it's a decent.
You make
I
that
don't know.
sound nasty.
Well, I'm just saying, but what am I really getting at? Okay, yeah, the overall gist of the movie, non-spoiler wise, I wouldn't watch it again. Sorry, I don't know.
Really? You wouldn't watch it again at all?
I mean, it's not like if you and I just decided one day, like, sit down and be like, okay, let's go watch this movie. Sure, why not?
Well, we're gonna have to do a commentary at some point. You know that'll come.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like if I'm not gonna sit here and go on Netflix and be like, yeah, I'm gonna watch that movie again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, you all know I like to do this. My biggest compliment to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 is that the gore, the special effects, the way the effects and the things that they did, the lighting, the things that they did, I thought they did very well in terms of the cinematography, in terms of the lighting, in terms of the blood and the gore, especially, and the effects were fantastic. There were a few points, sometimes on the bus scene, which is not really a spoiler. You all know he's about to tear some crap up on that bus. You know that, based on the trailer. I think a lot of what they did was done very well, again, in terms of the gore, in terms of the practical effects. the way that Leatherface looked and moved, and I think that was done very well. Now, with that being said, my biggest negative on the movie was the fact that when you compare it, yes, it did a lot of those things well, but when you compare it to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Night and
I
day.
felt that it was largely void of any of the same feel and vibe of that original movie. Now
And
again,
like I
that's not to
said,
say that what they did was bad. I don't think what they did fit this movie very well.
mm-hmm.
But I was expecting this to feel a little bit more like the original film did. Or not expecting, I was hoping that the atmosphere and the mood and the lighting and things like that would kind of connect with the original a little bit, and I think largely it didn't. Again, that works for this movie. It worked for this story they were telling. But in terms of even the plot, in terms of the characters, even small things about Leatherface, I felt like this was, if you took away Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Leatherface, this could have been a completely different movie and part of a different franchise, and you would have never known. So that's my biggest negative. I wanted it to feel more like the original movie. I mean, listen, think about the opening of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You get the narration, the whole Star Wars kind of scrolling thing, where it's I kind of joked about that at the beginning of this. The most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Blah 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 blah. The tragedy that befell 5 youths, all that stuff. I don't know why I keep doing it. But the opening of that movie, when you see the graveyard and the dead person, and I mean the way it looks, it's got this crimson red to it. Like you feel that dry Texas heat. You know what I mean? You
Oh
feel
yeah.
the way that the original film looks, it's almost like you could smell the dry grass and all of that stuff through the screen. I mean, it's so well done. And I was expecting a little bit more of that, a little more of that graininess to it. You know what I mean? I just wanted a little bit of that original TCM atmosphere, and I don't think we got it. So that's kind of my biggest negative on the movie. I think the characters were fine. They weren't great by any means. I can't think of a character that I was like, wow, they were done really, really well. And there were a couple of characters that I'd say, wow, they were done really, really poorly. I mean, like terrible. Like some of the worst characters I've ever seen. Terrible. Not all
I'm
of them,
curious
but a
what those
couple of
are.
them. Well, there's one that I'm thinking of right now that was a complete waste of time.
Oh, okay.
But it's a decent listen. If you're wanting a slasher that you can just walk into and be like, hey, you know what? I just want a good time. I want to sit back, eat some popcorn, drink a beer, and watch some people die. Like, this is a great movie for you. You're gonna have a good time. I'm talking about slasher movies. Don't kill me.
No.
This is going to be a great movie for you. But if you're walking into Texas Chainsaw Massacre wanting a legit sequel to the original one that carries on the same atmosphere and vibe and continuity and storyline, you're going to be a little disappointed. So
Yeah, I could say like this isn't like this sequel if they're attempting, if that's what they're attempting, is to like do away with all the other installments, and they're trying to make a direct sequel from the original. I don't think they hit the mark. If I'm being completely honest, it seemed more like a fan film or a spoof for all I care. That's pretty much what I got out of it.
I don't think it was. I wouldn't say it was a spoof. I don't think it was. There are some things where you have to suspend disbelief a little bit. And I'm not going to go into what those are because they're heavy spoilers, but there are a few death scenes where I'm like, what? Or there are things that happen to Leatherface and I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
And
or
I can
certain
tell.
decisions that characters make that just kind of make you scratch your head a little bit, and you're like,
Mhm.
what? Like, did they really just do that? Did she really just say that? Uh did Leatherface really just do that? Like, and she what? You know what I mean? There's a few times where so Miguel and I did not watch this together. I watched this with my dad at my house over the weekend on Saturday morning, and there were a few times I actually was stuck. Like, I was like, did what? I said, did that? I was like, did that really just happen? And he was like, I don't know. That's not realistic at all. Like, and
Yeah,
again, you gotta suspend your disbelief. It's a slasher flick. Like, what are you
that's
gonna,
what I can honestly say, that it's not a horror movie by any stretch of the means. It's just a slasher flick. I'm gonna say that right now. Like, I don't know.
Are you
Like,
saying it's not really scary?
yeah, it's not scary
It's
by
really
any
not. I will
means.
say
It's
that.
literally just like a giant slasher film, and some people like that. Honestly, like, it's. I mean, if I gotta be completely honest, I could compare this closer to like fucking like Saw or like Jigsaw, because like
Yeah.
they're just like blood and guts
Well,
and gore.
I don't, for me at least, and I mean, for me, I don't think there were any real moments of suspense where I was like,
Mm.
"Oh crap, where's this going?
Oh
Like,
no, I
what's
will
going
tell
on?
you.
What's going on?"
Yeah,
Or any scenes that were
there
really
was
big
one.
jump scares, or anything that really made me like, there are ways that that good slashers or good horror films can keep you on the edge of your seat. I never felt on the edge of my seat. If you're somebody who's in it for carnage candy, this is going to be a great one for you. If you just want nothing but gore and blood, this is a great film for you. It's a very ashen.
Ashton.
It's a really action-packed, gory, bloody slasher flick, and that's basically what Texas Chainsaw is.
Yeah, and how can I say this? I would say that like the themes and like the atmosphere of it all, like it seemed to fit the settings, but like in regards to like the theme, the underlining themes that happen throughout this movie, it's like, bro, I'm literally just here to watch a slasher flick. I'm just here to
Yeah.
watch Leatherface just go ballistic, and
Mhm.
I just felt like I don't even feel like they really did Leatherface justice all that well either. Like, there's so many things in this movie where it's like, I don't know. I don't think it was a good move for almost half of it.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think. Uh, I don't know. Well, I can't say too much more without getting into spoilers, especially about Leatherface. So that's our spoiler-free review of the film. Let's go ahead and transition. Let me get our spoiler warning up. If you look in the top right-hand corner of the screen, if you're watching with us on YouTube, the spoiler warning is up. So if if you haven't, I think most people have probably seen it by now, so we're probably good. But if you have not seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that spoiler warning is up there. If you're listening on Spotify or a podcast platform, here's your warning. So let's talk a little bit about the opening. I thought, listen, when the opening happened, I was like, okay, this is gonna be fine. We're going in the right direction. And I actually went back and rewatched it. I really liked the way the movie opened. It Going back and watching the second time, I realized, and this is very unexpected. I didn't expect this at all for a TCM film. It's a very meta movie.
So
Like,
fucking meta. Oh my god. Much
much
more than my
more
fucking screen,
than
dog.
one of the things that came out of the I'll come back to the opening in a second because I did have a thought. Something that came out of the test screenings was that, oh, it's so woke. It's all about pushing woke culture and cancel culture and like all this woke stuff. But here's the thing. It kind of made fun of woke culture, and it kind of made fun of the opposite of that. It made fun of current slashers and what they're doing with Halloween. It kind of didn't, at least for me on the second watch, I felt like it really didn't pick a side. It kind of made fun of everybody. and some of the things that happened, some of the decisions made by some of the characters, especially a lot of the kids and these investor people that were coming to Harlow uh, to revitalize the town, or whatever. Like I saw somebody else actually pointed this out on Twitter. The Confederate flag thing, that whole
Yeah.
Tabasco that started this whole thing and whatever.
You said Tabasco?
Pause.
You said Tabasco. Hot sauce. Fire.
Part of what whole started this whole debacle about the Confederate flag and the reason the old lady had a heart attack and whatever else, all of these people went and took pictures with a statue at the end of town, and it was a Confederate statue. So it's all like, that was like, I didn't catch that the first time.
Bro, yeah, that was just some like, I can agree with you right now that it was pretty much spoofing almost every single side there is known to man in the internet.
That's the thing. It's like, on my first watch, I was like, it's not that woke, as they say. Like, it's not. I was expecting really bad, and like, they're not gonna. We're not talking politics or anything like that on here, but like, I think there's a level. I mean, look at the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. People always want to push this no politics thing, but look, every single horror movie, I bet you could find some form of political subtext in it. I mean, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre literally was about seeing people dying in the Vietnam War on live TV every night, and the government lying to you, and kind of poking fun at that, as they would call it, redneck, culture, and they're just different things. I mean, it's actually a very political film. Even talking about, a lot of the ways that Leatherface kills people in the original film is the same way that they would kill pigs or cattle in a slaughterhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So it even kind of poked fun at the, like, are human, if the tables are turned and humans are the ones being slaughtered for meat, is it really that humane? It's I mean, there were a lot of political ideas that were hardcore subtext in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I thought that the way that they did it in this movie was not bad at all. And I actually really liked the moment where we realized that the guy, because, I obviously at the beginning of the film, when the kids show up, they meet, what's his name? You remembered his name. The contractor guy that they met up with, that they had hired.
Is it Travis? I think it's Travis.
I don't remember what his name is. The dude that took the keys from the dude that took the keys
Mel
from the
and
guy.
Dante?
Yes, Dante. Yes, who took the keys from Dante. They kind of had their confrontation. They're spitting at each other, kind of throwing their redneck side versus the woke side, just kind of like, and I was like, oh, okay, I get what they're doing here, yada, yada, yada. But like, he even kind of, they ended up working together for a little bit, and he even kind of, they bridged that gap a little bit. We realized the contractor dude had a heart. He wasn't a bad guy. You know what I mean? And
he just didn't like the fact that he had all these fucking next gen people just fucking tearing the fucking town apart. Like, that's what kind of pissed me off with the whole thing. And I want to go back to like what you said about the original one, about how they were pretty much doing the same thing. One thing I will notice is that what this movie did was pretty much answer like a lot of like our complaints in regards to like all these old horror tropes. It's like, oh, if I was in that position, I would have just ran away, or blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't have done this or this or that. But you gotta understand, the kids that are coming to this town, they're pretty much the same age as the kids that were going into that farm in the original movie. And guess what? They're all just naive, not knowing any better, thinking the best in any case. And they just, walk themselves into an absolute fucking slaughterhouse. So I thought that was, now that I think about it, that's probably an interesting perspective into this movie, is the fact that this movie not only did like, play in parts of like the new generation thing, but it pretty much said like, hey, put in this situation, you would do the same thing. And that goes for every single generation and every single horror trope that you could think of. And I thought that was, thinking about that now, I think that's really interesting, because it's like, because how we used to always like say, oh, if I would never go in that dark room, I would never go in that dark
Right.
or in that abandoned apartment. No,
Yeah.
these motherfuckers did. They really did, for like
Yeah.
terrible reasons too. So
Yeah.
it's like you kind of set yourself up for failure. Like, and I thought the movie did a really good job in regards of
I did
pretty
too.
much doing away with the usual stereotype of like all these horror people, these horror characters in these movies. They're just young, naive, stupid teenagers that don't know what they're doing. Bro, that goes for like every single fucking generation. So yeah, it is what it is.
I appreciated, and again, the issues they did bring up, pause. The issues that they did bring up, I thought that they did it well. It wasn't too overbearing for me. It didn't bother me. And I thought it was going to be like the entire movie was about, politics and about all this stuff. And it really didn't bother me at all. It really didn't. I thought a lot of it was done very well. I definitely felt some subtext when what is his name, the contractor guy. Well, when we saw that Dante was like flying a hole and he was all jacked up on his jaw, which first of all, that was nasty with a capital N. And he caught him and he kind of set him on the side and he was like, don't leave me, like you're okay, stay with me or whatever. And he gave her the keys, like before Mr. Contractor Man died. He gave Mel the keys. Huh?
I think it's Richter.
Okay. Richter. Yeah, Richter, that's what it was. But like he gave her the keys. Like at the end of the day, we're all human. You know what I mean? And you're gonna watch out for people. You're gonna help take care of each other. And I definitely felt that coming through. I think if you want to talk about any of the political subtext, I think the thing that was done the best was Mel's sister. What was her name? Miguel, you're better with the names than me. Let me pull this up.
Mel's sister?
I can't keep
that
saying
was
names.
Lila.
Lila. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You thought so here, I'll hear your thoughts on that and then I'll share mine.
I thought Lila's whole backstory where she was a survivor of a school shooting, I thought that was done very well, because it's not just pushing a political agenda. She has a legitimate reason that she does not like guns, and her character was different, and it was different than what you see people do, where people yell first and ask questions later. She wanted to have an open conversation with Richter about why he had a gun. She wasn't quick to judge, or she wasn't quick to just shut him down. I mean, they had a conversation, they had a connection, they had a moment between the two of them. And of course, at the end of it, she even kind of gets up her nerve enough. She picks up the gun. She tries to fight back. I feel like that was cool, because she was the only character where I actually felt like I felt an inner strength from her. You know what I mean? It was, I don't know. I felt like there was an inner strength from that character that I didn't get from a lot of the others in this movie. I think her character was arguably the most complex, the most diverse. I really liked Lila's character, to be completely honest.
See, that's interesting, because I actually liked Mel's character more than I liked Lila's, pretty much. Yeah, mainly because Lila had that traumatic event that took place, and I know that took part in why she's there and what she's doing. But if you're gonna present something like that, you gotta at least give her some sort of resolution in regards to that. And I don't feel like she got anything in regards to that. There was no sense of closure or resolution in any of that. Yeah, did she end up taking what she was afraid of most to fight this threat? Sure. But if you watch the rest of the movie, you could tell that she's, she hasn't grown at all in regards. She still had that frozen mentality for a hot second, and it came back over and over. So it's I didn't sense any sort of resolution, and that goes for every single one of them. There was no sense of resolution for anyone.
Nope.
If anything, probably Dante and Richter. That was it. That was probably it. With that whole
I would
like
agree with
bridging the
that.
gap thing, that was it.
Yeah.
But everyone else, bro, that thing was meat soup at that point. I was like, I don't know what to fucking say.
Especially for, honestly, the only characters that you could actually say had somewhat of an arc are Richter, Mel, Lila, and Dante. Everybody else was just there to be killed.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
Seriously.
Ruth, Dante's girlfriend. Bro, dog, she probably had like about 5 minutes of screen time.
Literally just there to be killed. Everybody on, if they were on that bus, except for Mel and Lila, they were there to be slaughtered on that bus. That was basically it. I mean, even if you really think about it, there weren't many other individual kills other than the bus. The bus was kind of the majority of the kills in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and which
by
makes,
the way, it makes sense.
It just, I don't know. Yeah, was the original one just in a house? Sure. Yeah, I get that. But my thing is like, for fuck's sakes, dog, this thing happened within like 20, 30 feet of each other. Like it happened in a bus, and then it happened at the fucking orphanage. That was it.
Yeah,
dog.
Did you like the setting of like
I did not like it?
Like it all took place in this one little town.
It looked like a 1960 movie where all they had was that one area and that one backdrop, and they went
it's an old Western where they have one strip of road. That's it.
Yeah, and they make a whole movie out of it, and I thought that was really weird. I thought, I don't know. Yeah, how can I say this? If you're gonna make it small, if you're gonna make the action small, make sure it's small. But if you're gonna like place like if you're gonna make the entire movie based on a group of people trying to revitalize a town, make the town, get us immersed in the town. Because we didn't know anything about the fucking town. I didn't even, like, in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they weren't in the town. We knew nothing about Harlow. And then all of a sudden, we're introduced into the town of Harlow, but all we saw was orphanage and, like, the fucking movie theater.
We didn't see the town. The town wasn't in the... I mean, here's where I haven't forgot about my opening credits thought, the opening of the film.
My bad.
And here's a perfect transition into that. I think it worked, but part of what I expected, I thought we would see the Sawyer house at least once.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm not talking about, I know that was the post-credit scene. I thought we would be inside of the Sawyer house at least one time in this film.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I saw the opening credits, I was like, oh, this is really cool. We got shots, and I know it was just recycled shots of the original movie. We had shots of the original narrator. The original narrator was back. There were so many things. I was like, man, this feels like the opening. This feels like an opening to a Texas Chainsaw movie. I dig it. Even when Lila was inside of the gas station, and we got the little tidbit. Again, kind of meta-ish. You have like chainsaw bottle openers and chainsaw keychains and a bloody Texas thing. I mean, just like, little, it's almost like, why are they selling keychains about some awful, terrible crime that happened 40 years ago? You know what I mean? Like, why? Yeah. But, we had like the picture, the sketch, because he said, they never found him. The only sketch we have is what Sally Hardesty, told the sketch artist of the police department and things like that. They never found him. I liked a lot of that. I liked that it's kind of a legend. We got that. It's just a legend. We don't talk about it, but we do talk about it, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really, really liked the opening, which led me to believe that it was going to be more connected to the original film than it was. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying, not only just in the atmosphere and the vibe and the colors and the feel and the setting, the story wasn't really at all connected to the original, except for the fact that Leatherface is a 70-year-old version of what we saw in the original.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it wasn't really connected to the original at all. We didn't get any explanation, and I did not like this. We got no explanation for how Leatherface ended up from the Sawyer house with was it his dad, maybe, with his dad and the grandfather. His brother had just died, to the orphanage. We never got any kind of explanation. Was the lady taking care of him part of their family and we just didn't see her in the original? What, did they, after the events of the original, because you have to remember, in this timeline, there is no Texas 2, there is no Texas 3, there's no Next Generation, there's no Texas Chainsaw 3D. This is what Texas Chainsaw 3D was. This is just a sequel to the original. So the last time we saw, I'm pointing up here because I have my the original poster, the What Happened Is True Now, the motion picture that's just as real, Who Will Survive and What Will Be Left of Them poster. The last time that we saw Leatherface was in the sunrise as he's twirling the chainsaw and screaming in the road, and it cuts to black. That was the last time we interacted with this character. And I felt like it was very sudden and very, when they were having the argument with the old lady and he just walked at the top of the stairs and was like,
yeah.
I was like, what? I said, is that really our introduction to Leatherface again? Like,
yeah,
he's just living with this old lady in her orphanage house. Like, what?
It made no sense as to why he's even there.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And also the fact that like I couldn't even like understand with the portrait or like the family picture of like the orphanage, and like obviously they have Leatherface in the very top and all scratched out. Bro, like I'm confused. Like, isn't he supposed to be an unhinged fucking maniac?
Well, but
yet he's taking care of kids?
Here's the thing though. I don't see, I didn't take that as he was taking care of kids. I took that as, okay.
Exactly.
Let's
if you
listen.
A unhinged fucking maniac that literally murdered a number of people, and you're just gonna keep him in a fucking orphanage filled with kids, that will definitely rile him up.
Let's logically think about this. So
no, there's no logic in this.
Listen, Leatherface would be 70, between 70 and 74, 75-ish. I'm not going to sit and do the math. So in the original film, if this is 50 years later, he would have been 21, 22, between 21, 24, 25-ish. He wasn't young enough to be in an orphanage, not at with all. Kids. And especially like, that picture confused me because it was like, I mean, okay, if he scratched himself out, but I didn't get the vibe that I don't understand why he would have been in that picture. If you're trying to, again, plot hole, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But
if you're gonna place him there,
it doesn't make any sense. If they're trying to hide him for this terrible crime that you and your family committed, why would you put him in a picture? Or why would you put him with all of these other kids? Like, nothing about how he ended up in the orphanage added up at all. And I feel like that's part of where they could have had do this story the way you're doing it, with the kids trying to revitalize the town and the woman dies, and so be it. But I wish there could have been a little bit of a bridge between the 1974 film and the 2022 film. Like, there was no like logical bridge between the two, other than we were dealing with the 70-year-old man that did this in the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would you agree with me with the fact that this movie left you with more questions than answers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would agree with that, because
definitely,
like there's so many aspects in this movie where I felt continuous, like, why the fuck is that there? What happened here? Because like I said, when Leatherface was introduced, we don't know why he was. We don't know how or why he was there. I don't know how the fuck he's there with children, and I don't know how the fuck he wasn't caught. Because
Well,
if I'm being honest, yeah, that gas station guy was like, he's a dude that wore a mask. How hard? That's pretty hard to find. Any detective worth his salt would immediately connect the dots. Because again, Harlow is obviously a small town. And if I was a detective looking up what happened, don't know. That's a lot of red flags. Old boy in an orphanage, quiet, unhinged, or like supposedly taking care of these children. Like, I don't know. Like, it's getting to the point where it's like, I would have at least sent him in for questioning or whatnot. Like, it's like, bro,
well,
what the fuck are we getting at here?
and what happened to the dad? We know the hitchhiker died, but the hitchhiker's dead body was sitting in the street at the end of the original one. Sally, I almost said Alice, like Resident Evil Alice. Sally had gotten away. Again, small town, people would have known who the Sawyers were. It's not like they wouldn't have. It's not like people wouldn't have known them. You know what I mean? A small town family that's been there for generations. Like,
yep.
I don't believe that this movie was connected to the original one, and I know it was. I know it's a sequel. I say that kind of facetiously. It just didn't feel. Again, I think there could have been much more of a bridge between the two than there was. It just didn't feel connected to the original storyline. I mean, what happened to the rest of his family? What happened? I mean, I'm sure they'd be dead by now anyways because they were older. But we still never got. I mean, did the SWAT team raid their house? Did they look for them? How much of an investigation would there have been? Because I mean, they killed 5 people. And there's evidence that they've already killed more people than that. So it's like, okay, this would be definitely, we're calling the FBI on this. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have been like somebody shot somebody in an alley, which is still terrible, but it wouldn't have been like a small crime that everybody forgets. I mean, this would have been a big deal. There would have been a manhunt for these people.
Yeah, this shit would have been on AETV. It would have been on 60 Minutes, dog.
And yes, 100%. Even for 1974, this would have been a really big deal. Like searching for them, you know what I mean?
Like fuck a Jeffrey Dahmer or some shit like that. This was worse, dog. Like, jeez.
By the way, I just found this the other night. I was actually rewatching part of this, and I was on YouTube. I was responding to a couple of comments from people on other videos and other things. And I saw alternate ending for the 2003 remake, and I was like, I didn't know there was an alternate ending. So I clicked on it, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't know this ever existed. I didn't know there was an alternate ending. The alternate ending is Erin is sitting there years later. She's an older woman, and years later, they're they've had the investigation, and she's in a mental institution, which I didn't like that, because I would like to think of her like, wow, she escaped. She did it. She got away. She did the right thing. She took the kids so that they wouldn't have to live up like that, grow up like that. She did a good thing. And at the end of that movie, she says something like, he's the investigator talking to her says, did you see the autopsy photos? And again, this is for the 2003 remake with Jessica Biel. So this is Jessica Biel's character years after she's escaped and the events of what's happened. And the investigator says, did you see the autopsy photos? And she says, yes, but that's not him. And he's like, what do you mean that's not him? We arrested him. Like, that was him. And she said, he only had one arm, because she cut his arm off at the end of the Texas remake. And of course he says, can you say that again? And boom, it cuts to the SWAT team raiding the Sawyer's house, and all the investigators and FBI agents or whatever, and they're like, clear, and they're going from every room, like raiding their house. And they get into a room, and they find somebody I don't quite understand who it was supposed to be. Somebody, a heavier person, dead on a bed, and then the final scene is a door swings open, and it's a man from behind with one arm, and he's heavier, and you could tell he's older, and he's walking with one arm, and then it just cuts. So it's like, okay, so Leatherface escaped essentially, and he's an old man now. So I thought that was kind of cool. It was kind of cool seeing the SWAT team raid the Texas Chainsaw House. You know what I mean? Like, that was kind of cool. And that's what I'm saying. Listen, even for 1974, the SWAT team would have been raiding that house trying to find this family. You know what I mean? That would have been a big deal. So again, makes zero sense that they just got away with it, and he just escaped, and he's in an orphanage in the same town, mind you. He's just in an orphanage, just chilling with this lady.
There's no possible way he could just easily go into hiding at a small town like that. I'm sorry.
Right. And you had mentioned being with other kids. I don't think that was as much an issue because he needed somebody to keep him at bay, you know? Like, you could tell he trusted her. He was like, hey, don't go in my room. You know, and part of what makes his character so great, I think, in the original is after he kills the first couple of people. You know, he hits the guy with the hammer in the house. He drags the one in the red shorts back in the house and kills her, or puts her in the meat cooler or whatever. You know, part of what makes his character so interesting is that he's not all there. And you see him kind of going through the process, like when he gets back in his room and he's rocking back and forth, almost like he can't believe he just did what he did. You know what I mean? Like, he feels guilt. He feels multiple emotions, but at the same time, he still does it because it's what the family wants him to do. And when you see the family treating him bad, I mean, they're slapping him and yelling at him, and he's kind of like, you know, he's kind of flinching. Like, he wasn't treated well in the Sawyer household. And you can, like, that's very, very obvious. So I can believe that he needed somebody to keep him at bay. And if he trusted all the kids, and if he kind of became low-key family with some of the kids in the orphanage, I can believe that. My thing is just that kind of an investigation. Like, there's no way that they would not have found him. You know what I mean? Unless he just went completely off the grid. But we know he didn't.
We know that fucking people were investigating him. Sally was investigating him.
Yeah.
Sally's was hunting him for 50 years, dog. I've been hunting him for 50 years. I was like, well, you weren't doing a good job. Bro, how are you reelected all those years and still you couldn't keep up with your...
Well, she was a ranger. She wasn't even a cop. She was a ranger.
Oh, yeah. She was a ranger. Never mind. I thought she was a sheriff. My bad, dog.
No.
I'll take that. But, yeah, again, it's just... In the beginning, whenever it showed with, like... I mean, I'm just talking about Leatherface at this point. And guess what? I'm saying his name right this time. Never mind. But...
Not Texas Chainsaw guy?
Yeah, when Leatherface came out and he was just like chilling right there, like it really threw me off. It took me out of the movie because, like, is he controllable? Is he controllable? Maybe. Yeah, sure. But you can tell that as soon as Miss Mick died, like, he completely went off the deep end. And my thing is, when Miss Mick went through like her like episode and throwing up and having a heart attack, and then all of a sudden he's back up on the stairs again, and the fucking sheriff's like, "Oh shit, it's him." It's like, bro, you mean to tell me that they know?
You're like, you know he's here? Like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, it was like this town already knew. Like, this town knew who it was.
Let me ask you.
And also, let me ask you this. No, let me say this real quick, because we're getting heated now. We're getting heated. This is a theory that I have already. What if Richter was the orphan in the orphanage, and he knows that that's Leatherface? That's a question. That's a question that I'm curious about.
My thought is, because maybe what if the entire town knew that he was there?
That's pretty much where I'm getting at too.
Like,
dog.
What if there was this kind? Again, it's like we don't talk about it, but we still talk about it kind of thing. Like I don't want a dog in that fight. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want a part of that. Like,
it's literally the best saying.
I'm gonna
you can
stay
go
in
with
my
it.
lane and do my own thing, and that's it. Because I
The
don't want
best-
to. I don't want to get involved in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the best saying is "not my pig, not my farm." Pretty much,
Yeah.
that's the way it
Yeah,
was.
you put it very well when you said it leaves you with a lot of questions. And
Mhm.
I don't think, you know, I know I see your comments, buddy. I'm gonna get there in just a second. Oct even said, you know, there are logical holes, and yes, but I know you have to forgive certain things. I know you do, but I think they could have done a better job. It's one of my perhaps my most legit criticism of the movie is I feel like they could have done a better job, especially um, being that this was a sequel to the original. You could have done a better job in connecting it to the original than they did. I really don't think they did all that great of a job connecting it to the original film. I don't. Other than the fact that it involved Leatherface, it didn't feel connected at all. So that's my legit biggest criticism of the movie. I do want to get to these comments. The Oct, he says, "Sup homies, sup homies. I really like the new TCM. Fun ride. Leatherface acted and moved perfect, I thought. Wish they didn't show his face so clearly though. Yeah, I didn't like
Another
that either.
thing, yeah.
When the chick with the phone who like could not stop texting for her life, she was about to get stabbed, and she was like, "Hold on, let me send my text." You know, like she couldn't stop looking at her phone the entire time. And when we saw him in the ambulance, and all we saw was like, I was like, no, like I don't want to
Yeah.
see his face. Like I don't want to know what he looks like. That's dumb. Yeah, I didn't like that we could see his face. Definitely a lot of logical holes, but the ending was amazing, and there were a lot of very cool moments. See, I didn't. It depends on what part of the ending you mean. The ending battle, cool. The actual ending, garbage. The post-credit scene, cool. Like it depends on which part you're talking about. One of the best parts of TCM is that it made Halloween Kills look less illogical. True, man. True. I saw a lot of people that were like, man, this kind of makes Halloween Kills look a lot like less gory compared. You know what I mean? Like, because
Well,
a
not
lot of the
even
stuff he
gory, but
does,
like the logic
brutal.
behind Halloween Kills makes a lot more sense than this one.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
it does. Yeah,
Because
let's
what's funny is that like with Halloween Kills, the town hated Michael, and
right.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, everyone literally said, "Not my pig, not my farm. It ain't my business." Pretty much, and they just kept it quiet, and then everyone just
Yeah.
slowly started moving away. I feel like that's the case. I do feel like
Maybe that
people started catching
we
on.
just solved it.
There you go.
Listen,
Maybe
Netflix, reach out to us. We just wrote your sequel. Or your prequel, whichever. The town moved away because they didn't want to be near the Sawyers. They didn't want to be
they started
near
realizing that this older, fatter gentleman is Leatherface, and they're like, "Bro, we're getting the fuck out of here. If the sheriffs won't do anything, I'm gonna leave."
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know, and it
Did
makes
he
me
really
think,
say that's him? Did the sheriff really say that when he was coming down the stairs?
or like, oh shit, it's his something, it's something. They did say something in regards to that. I'm not kidding.
I'll have to go back and watch that scene. I don't remember them saying
If
that.
I'm wrong, please, because dog, the way they looked at Leatherface, they knew exactly who that guy was. Just
You
the amount
think
of
so,
fear.
huh?
Yes, the amount of
I
fear
didn't
those
pick up
sheriffs
on that the
had.
first time.
The amount of fear that those sheriffs had. There was an underlining understanding between those two that, oh shit, that is Leatherface. And in the whole ride back, trying to get to the hospital, as soon as they found out that Miss Mick like croaked, bro, that driver, he knew what was gonna happen. He said, "Oh shit!" Like he knew something was gonna go down, and every single one of them understood. Both of those sheriffs understood. Like, oh shit, she croaked. We need to do something because we about to die. Like all of us are about to die.
And okay, so we'll get to Sally in a minute. Let's talk about that. When they're in the ambulance, listen. If what you just said is true, and they knew who that was, if she just died, and you can see him getting emotional and like trying to like wake her up, and again, he's not all there. There's something going on in his brain, he's a psychopath.
Mhm.
And if they knew who he was, when he kept trying to turn the oxygen up and like putting it on her face, like Leatherface was like trying to put the oxygen cup on her face or whatever, and he reached over and grabbed his hand, and what did he say? He was like, "Why don't you just stop, you big stupid animal?" I was like, what? I was like, bro, are you kidding me? Even if he's not a psychopath, why would you look at somebody who just lost like the person they care about most and be like, "You big stupid animal"? Like, no. Like,
Well,
why would he? Like,
the
bro,
sheriff,
you
the
kind of
sheriff
sealed your
was
own fate right there.
the sheriff that was in the van, like he's young enough to like he's young enough to the point where he's like he's not old enough to know like to truly know what happened during that event just based on stories. But the one driving, I'm sure he knew good and damn well.
He was older.
As soon as he turned back and he saw she died and how frustrated he got, bro, it was getting to the. He was like, "Bro, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like we're gonna die." And
He's
the new,
agitated.
yeah. So I'm starting to think that the entire town knew that Leatherface was just there. Like
It's an interesting theory. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Bro, the opening kill, the first kill we got, I was like,
Are you talking about the sheriff?
When he grabbed his hand, he went after the big stupid animal thing. And it was just even the way he said it, he was whiny.
Probably because he knew he was gonna die. Like,
bro, what was that? Why would you do that to somebody? And when he snapped his wrist up and then stabbed him with his own bone, I was like, I looked at my dad. I said, "So this is the kind of movie this is about to be."
Yeah.
And then he shoots the driver on accident. And I was like, okay, so we're pulling a Halloween Kills. It's going to be a little fantastical. And then,
holy shit, you're right. What the fuck, dog?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's something that I saw on TikTok. Shout out to Straw Hat. He said something in regards to like the past 3 like icon horror movies that came out. He said something along the line of every other year there's like a couple movies that come out and they're vaguely similar to one another, like suspiciously similar. And this year he mentioned it was Halloween Kills, or like the Halloween like trilogy, and Scream and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because they all pretty much follow the same trope to some degree. It's the killer comes back after so many years, and the older survivors have to come back and, you know, deal with the new set of survivors that are in the movie, the new crew. So it's like it's the same shit. But like what gets me with this is the fact that Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, right.
Somebody's about to roast you again. Texas Chainsaw guy, man. Come on, roast him.
But like Halloween Kills and Texas Chainsaw Massacre has some interesting parallels in regards to like what happens in these and with these scenarios. Like it's like okay,
which is interesting because I don't think that Texas Chainsaw could have copied off of Halloween Kills, because I correct me if I'm wrong, but they would have been in production kind of at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but let's be honest, Halloween 2018 was pretty much like ripping.
Well, yeah,
previous
Sally was. Listen, we'll come back. We'll come to Sally in a minute because I had something else I wanted to say about the van scene.
You get what I'm saying. Like
the whole Sally storyline was a legit ripoff of Halloween 2018.
Yeah,
Laurie. Yeah, legit, complete ripoff.
Mm-hmm. Except it was like the Save-A-Lot brand. It was like Dr. Pepper with Dr. Fizz.
I don't even know if it was Dr. Fizz. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Listen, Sally was it was bad. Like it was worse than I expected it to be. I didn't expect it to be great, but it was like 10 times worse than I expected it to be with her.
Yeah, and what I think is what sucks the most is that I'm sure that Sally could have been I'm sure Sally could have been played or written much better, because Jeepers Creepers 2, same premise to some degree. I don't know if you've seen Jeepers Creepers 2. Have you seen it?
I honestly, I don't know if I've
So
ever even seen the Jeepers Creepers film.
okay, well the Jeepers, I actually like the Jeepers Creepers franchise all the way up until like 3. Fuck 3. I only like the first 2. Well, the sequel to Jeepers Creepers is this family that lives on the farm, and his youngest son gets abducted by Jeepers Creepers. And the story trope goes with he shows up every 25 years. And then on the 25th on the 25th year, on the 25th day or whatever, blah 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 blah, he comes back for a whole day to feast. So after he took his son for the next 25 years, dog, he was prepping for his return.
Yeah.
And he was much more badass than fucking Sally and fucking Laurie. Okay, yeah, Laurie and him are like kind of the same. But like I said, that story was written in one movie.
Yeah.
It took 2 movies to do that for Sally, and they still did a shit job on it, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
They try to make her seem like such a badass and everything, but it was the same premise as like Tommy. You know what? It's the same premise as Tommy and Halloween Kills.
Oh, this was
like
way worse than Tommy.
But
this makes
it's like
this makes Tommy and Halloween Kills seem like an Academy Award winning character. I mean,
but you get where I'm getting at with Tommy and Sally is the fact that like they spent all of their years trying to deal with the trauma of it, and they literally just said, "Okay, I'm gonna bury this trauma and use my anger to resolve my trauma," when that wasn't the case. It's the same where Tommy was like, "We're not going to let evil die tonight, blah, 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 blah." Michael's going to die tonight. But then when actually confronted with Michael, he freezes and he dies. Same shit happens with Sally whenever she meets whenever she finds out that Leatherface is back. She's had to go back and recharge and get her like strength again, or her quote unquote strength, to confront Leatherface, but still ultimately loses.
Here's the thing with Sally, and this, listen, I this is not her name is something Falray, Owen Falray, I don't know, Falray. So it's something a little bit different. This is nothing against her. I think this is completely in how the character was written. I mean, her look, I believe that's Sally 50 years later. I mean, it's nothing personal against the actress at all. I just think the character was written just god awfully. I mean, it was just terrible. Listen, Laurie was prepared, and I don't mean to keep comparing this to Halloween, but Laurie was prepared. She had her house ready. She had all of the traps. Remember all of the trap doors in her house? She knew she could set the house on fire if she needed to. Like, Laurie was prepared to fight him. I know she had her Rick Grimes bag of guns in her trunk, and she seemed all like she was going to be super badass and like ready to take Leatherface on again. She even had the ripped off line of I've waited 50 years to see his face, or whatever she says again, you know.
That was a pretty good accent.
I don't know, whatever, but it built her character up like, ooh, okay, this is going to be a cool confrontation. If you've waited so long to kill somebody and to come face to face with them again, I don't know what this fascination is. Even with Laurie, I don't know what this fascination is with. I guess you want to feel validated that there was a reason why this happened to you. Like, when she came face to face, I expected there to be a little bit of a skirmish between Leatherface and Sally in the orphanage house. But when she rounds the corner and he's just like sitting there kind of rocking or whatever, and the chainsaw's across the room and he's sitting over here, she could have rounded the corner, boom, done, roll credits. She could have killed him. It could have been over.
Yep.
But no, what does she do? She says, Franklin, and she lists everybody else, her brother and everybody else that died that he killed in the original movie. And it's like, he's a mentally disturbed person. He's a psycho he's not going to remember who you are 50 years later.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care who you are. And if you really wanted to kill him as bad as you say, and you act like you want to, and you want this hardcore revenge, pull the trigger and blow his socks off. That's it. Again, roll credits. Her character's arc could have been complete. Now, I know plot armor, you can't do that. But
bro, that was beyond plot armor.
I felt
that was literally just a script saying he's not going to die in this confrontation.
I just felt like, just make it a confrontation then. Like, she rounds the corner and he's waiting for her, because he watched her pull up, and there's a little bit of a fight, and then they take the fight outside. He hears them screaming and he goes to find the girls outside and she follows. But it was just stupid. This is one of my bigger critiques of the film. It was stupid that she's standing there, gun loaded, ready to rock and roll. And she's like, tell me you remember me. Tell me you know who I am. And the way he just stood up and grabbed the chainsaw and just like, excuse me, ma'am. Walked right around her. I was like, are you kidding me? You're within 2 feet of him, and you're not gonna do anything. Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
You could have killed. You could have ended it. You could have accomplished what you've waited 50 years to do. But instead, like you said, you froze, and you wanted justification rather than actually fulfilling what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and honestly, I know some people could argue that, yeah, Leatherface did recognize her, and
I don't think
probably
he did
felt remorse and just walked off.
I don't think he did at all.
Bullshit. That scene right there alone pretty much threw away Sally's character. And then coming out when she finally decided to fight Leatherface, that was not Sally anymore. That was just an older lady just angry at fucking Leatherface. I felt no weight in her triumphant attack towards Leatherface whatsoever, because it pretty much threw away all of the weight that she had on her, because she was sitting there 50 years fucking smothering on that shit, and then Leatherface just walks off, not even acknowledging her. It's like that entire story that we've all been building up since we saw the trailer was completely thrown away. Would you say that's basically passing the torch to the next generation of horror queens? No, not this one. This one was dumb as shit. You pretty much threw away because I'm not even a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan anyways. But again, if Sally is your Laurie Strode or your fucking other stuff like that, bro, I would be fucking livid with the way the writers just threw away Sally's supposedly survivor/hero arc.
It was just weird. I couldn't imagine Michael Myers just walking right past Laurie Strode. I'm just going to squeeze right on past you. I couldn't imagine Freddy or Jason just being like, excuse me. It was just weird. I actually said to my dad, I said, that was weird. That was a weird feel. I feel like that was almost out of place. They should have cut that scene and replaced it with something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could have still shown that he didn't remember who she was in a different way, in more of a confrontational way. But the way he I can't see him just walking right past her like he did. That, it just made no sense to me. And then, God, the worst part of the entire movie for me. This is arguably one of the worst lines I've ever heard in a movie. When he's about to chainsaw Mel's leg, and first of all, she shoots him in the shoulder, and that would have blown his shoulder off. Don't sit here and tell me that he was just oh. And he was just fine from that. When she gives her little weird laugh, that even made me kind of what? But when she goes, I'm the one that got away, and I'm here to make sure that you don't, I was like, oh my God. Really? Really? That's the line you had her say? That's her triumphant return? I'm
That
the
was
one that
your
got away, and
that
I'm
was
here to
your
make sure you don't. I was
yeah.
like, please, man, what? Cut that crap out. Like, no way.
It was literally pretty much like, that's your evil dies tonight. Like, really, guys?
Oh, that was
So
10. That, again, Evil Dies Tonight is Academy Award winning compared to that. That was garbage.
well, my
That
thing
was
is the fact that
steaming garbage.
the writers literally said that's impactful. That's going to be heavy. And instead, it was literally just the most
What?
hilarious shit ever.
I think it would have been more impactful if she didn't even say anything. Maybe it's hit her that, wow, there was no reason for what he did to me and my friends and my brother. And maybe she just walks, she shoots him, and he looks up at her, and she's just sobbing. Maybe she's walking towards him, cocking the shotgun, and just sobbing. That would have been more impactful than saying what she said. It was a terribly written line. It was, I mean, it was atrocious.
And that was
It was
damn
one of
near
the
like,
worst lines I've ever heard in a movie.
and that was probably like her 5th line too, in the whole movie.
It was not good.
Yeah.
And even from that point on, it was just her whole character was a waste. It was a complete waste. I'll tell you, one of the
because
scenes,
I would actually like to see her like come out and, you know, guns blazing and actually being a badass.
I would have liked a little bit more of a battle between the two of them, but there really wasn't. I mean, she shoots him, she delivers her terrible line, and then her trash line, and then he runs around the house or around the building to the alley.
Bro, you want to talk
She
about
can't
suspense?
see him.
That was suspense. That was pretty
Now,
suspenseful.
I will say that was the one point in the movie where I was kind of like, "Where is he?" Because what I liked was that you heard the chainsaw echoing, and she even said, "What are you doing?" Like she was looking, like she couldn't figure out where he was. And I will say the one
suspenseful
moment for me was when she kind of hears the chainsaw rev, and
but then you hear
she turns to the garbage bags and just, you don't even hear, it's like a second, you don't see anything, but all you hear is thump, 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 and he just comes charging out. I was like, whoo,
that was
like,
scary.
Here we go. That was pretty good. I will say that one was good.
I would say that is the moment where I was like, oh shit, that was a nice moment. And then she shoots, and then he shoots the fucking chainsaw. I was like, bro, come on. Again, you're throwing me out of the movie again.
Listen, she shoots the chainsaw. Well, she shoots a shotgun at him, which has bullets that spray. And somehow he managed to just
deflect it with his shotgun.
He had Cap's shield. And then what did he push the gun away? She stabbed him once, which looked like it didn't even phase him. And then, of course, we get him picking her up with the chainsaw. Now, here's the thing, though. And again, this is one of those moments where it's kind of like, she'd be dead. There's no way. Like, if you chainsawed all of this,
she got grinded.
No way.
She got grinded in midair for like a solid couple of seconds, and
then thrown 20 feet onto a pile of garbage, like her character was.
Yeah.
And then she lasted a good other like 2 minutes, but because he threw her, and then Mel started the engine, kind of hit him. He ran away. They crashed, had a moment. And then we finally had her walk out, and Sally was still alive through all of that, just watching that happen. And that's when she handed her the shotgun and was like, "Don't run. He'll haunt you forever." Also, Golden Corral's got a special going on.
Oh my god, you asshole!
I was just like, what? I was like, bro, her body was grinded up. Like, she's dead. Like, she'd have been dead within the first like split second of him doing that. You know what I mean? Yeah. She wouldn't have been alive for another like 2 minutes while all of that other stuff happened. So it was just kind of like, oh, you know, it was very, again, it was one of those moments where I was kind of like, okay, like that was a little strange. One thing we haven't talked about is the bus.
The bus.
the bus scene, man. And of course that's before Sally, but the bus scene was wild. I mean, it was Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It was
If it was
crazy.
R-rated.
I think that movie was R-rated, to be honest.
Fast Time at Ridgemont High?
I'm pretty sure that was R-rated.
Oh, rip.
Let's see. 1982 film, rated R.
Wow, how about that?
Yep, it was rated R. Yeah, I was gonna say it shows boobs. It's rated R. Yeah, the bus scene, man. I will say the bus scene was definitely cool. I will say I kind of laughed out loud. I thought it was funny when the guy's like, "Do anything, you're canceled, bro." And then it was like he says that, and Leatherface is like, and he revs up the chainsaw.
That's one thing that really threw me out of the fucking movie was the fact that, like, yeah, I get it. We all are all on our phones and all that shit. But it's like, I didn't expect to see that in a movie. And it's like, what made it worse was like the fact he said everyone pulls up their phone. Everybody pulls up their phone and says, try anything, you're canceled. Well, old boy Leatherface just chops that guy into chop suey, and he's still fucking recording. And everyone is screaming and still fucking recording. And what made it even fucking worse was that while people were dying, it shot a phone, and it was a Facebook Live of the fucking murder. And you know what happened on the Facebook Live? People were commenting on the video saying, bro, the shit looks lit. Why can't I be there? Bro, why did I not get an invite? I was like, bro, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Yeah. Well, here, I remember
that threw me out of the movie so hard.
I didn't notice some of it on my first watch just because I think it's like, wow, this is a lot of blood. But the first time when I was watching with my dad, he actually said, they're still recording this because he had killed like 3 or 4 people. And even in the flashy shot, even in the flashy shots, like when he's picking people up and throwing them and he's just like cutting through people and whatever, you look away and people are still like they're literally trying to climb out the windows behind them. And it's like one arm is out the window and the other arm is like they're still trying to video what's going on, even from trying to escape. So that was kind of one of those decisions. It's almost like, I get it. It's kind of meta because everybody has to record everything. But it was kind of strange. And another thing about the bus, and again, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This was really the first real massacre of people we've ever gotten in a TCM movie. We've never gotten just an all out, just slaughterhouse of human beings before. But there were at least 25 different ways that some of those people could have escaped. Not all of them were going to get out. If you were, God bless you, if you were closer to him, but if you were at the back of the bus, bro, you had a good 6 minutes you could have escaped.
Exactly. Here, I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. Okay,
you're sorry. Good. You could have gotten out the windows. You know that it's illegal for there to not be an emergency exit in the back of the bus. There's the emergency things. One in the bathroom, which is how Mel and Lila got out towards the end of it. There's there were ways that they could have gotten off of that bus. So I thought that was kind of strange. I was like, okay, like as he's sitting there just slaughtering through people. And then let's talk a little bit about Mel and Lila in the bathroom. That was smart, I think, to go in the bathroom. But it's almost like, okay, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, well, he can't see them. Maybe he won't have noticed that they were in there. But at the same time, it was like, well, he would have seen that they weren't in there too. Are you back already?
Yeah.
That was quick.
Yeah. I had to go real quick. Yeah.
The quickest pee I've ever seen in my life. Anyways, I was talking about Mel and Lila in the bathroom when they locked themselves in the stall. I said that was a good idea, but it's like a temporary solution because obviously he's going to check that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not going to, he's not going to just forget about it. Oh, we didn't talk about the chick, Dante's girlfriend that goes to climb out the window. She goes to climb out the window, and he just
that wasn't Dante's girlfriend. That was the banker that did that.
Oh yeah, you're right, the banker.
And I felt sorry for her, dog, because she was just here to make a buck, dog. She was here to just make a buck, and all of a sudden she gets cut in half. You
I
got to
thought
feel
her
for her.
character was kind of weird because she sees Dante when his face was all split open. We
Yeah.
see Dante when she
Fucking
sees him
cut up,
all
dude.
cut open and dead on the side of the street, and you would think she would freak out and like she'd scream and cry and whatever, but instead she's just like, I don't want to talk
What
about it.
happened?
And they're like,
Yeah.
but what? Just tell us what happened. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Just leave me alone. I don't want to. And it's like, bro, what? Like
Yeah.
again, I feel like it's not a logical reaction of her character. Like that's not a
And
legit.
also,
That's not
if
a way
I
that I feel like her character would have reacted to this.
yeah, and also if I was in that situation, if I was Richter and I saw poor Dante fucked up like that, I would give the keys back to her and be like, "Go, leave now.
Yeah,
He's back. Get the fuck out of here while you still can."
yeah.
Like I would have straight up, but no, I don't. There was a couple like plot holes or whatever stuff that they were illogical, but I'm just nitpicking at that point. But yeah, that bus scene alone, that was probably
It was crazy, man.
it was interesting. It was interesting. Yeah.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And then I knew as soon as they were locked in that basement and they were trying to like escape from the window, but then Mel couldn't get out, I knew she was gonna pull out that corkscrew. Because when I saw it in the beginning of the movie,
Yeah, I had forgotten.
When I saw that in the beginning of the movie, I was like, that has to come up at some point in this movie. I'm just saying. It has to. So obviously that's what happened. But another thing, dog, the one thing that really fucking pissed me off in this entire movie was the amount of times Leatherface could have killed somebody, but then something happens. Like an ex machina or some bullshit like that. Like something outlandish. Like there's multiple times where like Leatherface is like, and then something just fucking stops him. I'm like, bro, just drop the fucking chainsaw on her. She's dead. But no, you had to like lift it for like dramatic effect. Bro, that final fight scene, he probably did that like about 4 times before one of the sisters traded saving each other's lives.
Come on, he took down Richter. I mean, it's like this, let's be real. He, I guess you could say he was mad,
Sure, yeah, he was probably mad, but that still doesn't that doesn't. It's just the fact that like, dog, they were literally just they were just toying with him. They were just toying with like their death at that point.
Right.
And my thing is, and that's what pisses me off too, because like whenever Lila was gonna grab the shotgun, you know what Leatherface did? He pulled a Resident Evil Afterlife and just fucking threw the thing, and it cut her leg. I was like, yeah, that's a good move.
Yeah,
that should have killed her right there, but no.
Yeah. J-Dead's in the chat. What's going on, man? He says, hey guys, sorry I just got here. You should be sorry. No, I'm kidding. No worries, man. No worries. Just glad you're here with us. So yeah, we've talked about pretty much all of that except for, as you just brought up, the final fight scene. What do you think of like the climax between the fight between Mel and Lila and Leatherface?
Dumb as shit.
I thought it was kind of cool.
Well, here, I'll say there are a couple cool moments. There are a couple cool moments in that movie, especially when Leatherface tricked Lila into thinking where he was. I was like, that's Leatherface.
That was cool. When she pulled the curtain, I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, holy crap. And it was the bear. And, of course, he tackles her, whatever, into the water. Listen, I didn't understand
how'd she survive that?
Well, not only that, he tackles her in the water, and there's like it's a pretty long time that they're under the water, and then she comes out. But why was he still in the water for that long? He stayed in that water for a good like minute and a half. And
well,
before
the director
he came
said,
out, I was like,
wait 5 seconds before she gets up and then get out. That's pretty much what
I don't
happened.
know. It was kind of strange. I was like,
mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, that's a little strange.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually thought it was pretty cool when because Lila's on the ground and he did what you did, what you said, the whole dramatic effect. He's got to lift the chainsaw up before he goes to swing it down, and she started having the flashbacks to the mass shooting that she was involved in.
Mm-hmm.
and she's kind of like I actually almost thought she was going to let herself die, and then Mel would be the one to take down Leatherface, but which I guess Mel kind of was the one to take down Leatherface. But when we looked up and Mel was on his back, like kind of punching him and like pulling at him and whatever, I was like, okay, because it was kind of a slow-mo scene of him holding the chainsaw and trying to get her off and her fighting him. That was kind of cool. I dug that a lot. But I guess I didn't mind the way he fell in the water and we thought he died. I didn't mind that at all. I thought
nah, dog.
him
Like what pissed me off was the fact that
chainsaw was cool.
When Mel got the chainsaw and like was yelling, I was like, bro, just shove it right into him. No, but instead he gets fucking uppercutted by the fucking chainsaw and just, drops in there. And if I was them, I would have just, thrown a couple of buckshots in that shit and turn on the fucking I would have turned on the fucking chainsaw high power and just would have went doop like an ice cube and just let it chew him up for a little bit. I was like, bro.
I will say there's a really cool shot of after he gets out of the water and he's dripping, whatever. There's a cool shot where it zooms in on him, and in the trailer, that's when Sally says Leatherface. When like it zooms in on him or whatever, and he's kind of like he's holding the chainsaw and he's standing there, and the hair is dripping, and the mask is kind of like starting to sag on his face. Which, by the way, how did this mask stay on his face?
Yeah, really though. We didn't even talk about whose mask is she on.
He didn't sew it into his face, or there wasn't anything tying it. So like, how did it stay? I mean, like I guess you could say it went over the ears, like a COVID, like a medical mask, but like bro, in the water and everything, there's no way that would have stayed on his face. There's like no way. But again, suspend disbelief. I get it. Yeah, exactly. Jay did. Sally is no Laurie Strode. Just saying, bro.
That's very true.
We had a whole conversation. You are exactly right, my friend, about Sally and how ridiculous. Dude, I'm serious. That line. What is it again? I'm the one that got away, and I'm here to make sure you don't. I was like, listen, that line deserved.
You serious?
It was so out of place.
Yeah,
it was such a serious moment, and it was just like, and we're gonna go there. So I don't know, just ridiculous. It was a cool scene. Going back to the final battle, I actually really liked the scene when she swung the chainsaw up and hit his chin, and he like fell backwards in the water. I thought that looked pretty cool. It was a dope scene, the way it was shot in slow motion.
Bro, it was dead ass like when I saw that scene, it was like oh, that brother gone, like shit like that. When he get knocked out, he just like fucking Undertaker just went right into it.
Yeah.
Also,
you almost expect to hear the doctor thing, ding ding.
Yeah, right. Very convenient for there to be just, a fucking pond in a movie theater. You know what I'm talking about? It's a little on the nose. Huh?
It's an abandoned movie theater.
It's a little on the nose, I gotta say. A little on the nose. I mean, Texas looked like it wasn't getting much rain either. And just so happens it started raining. It's like, that's not a lot of rain to fill up a fucking pond.
Well, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't mind any of that final fight scene. I thought it was a really cool thing for those characters to come together and to fight him and to take him down. Now, the ending.
That shit pissed me off.
It was terrible.
That shit pissed me off. I swear to God, because they got my girl. I was pissed off.
Well, listen, here's the thing. I think it would have been a much more effective ending if so they get in the car, if you want to make it a Tesla and they do the autopilot.
No, hold on. Get with this real quick. Get with this. You could tell that they were hinting the next generation of survivors in this. Whenever Lila as soon as I saw Lila take Sally's hat and put it on, I was like, she's the one that survives. I knew that. As soon as it happened, I was like, Mel's time is limited now at this point. And I was like, fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, what? I was like, also, it was so out of character for fuck's sakes, dog. Like, I don't know. Like, you just went through something extremely traumatic. Just saying.
Shay did. TCM. Tesla dies tonight.
Fuck.
Also, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Hi, sorry I'm late. We're talking about you, buddy. You're not late.
I'm sorry, champ.
You're not late. Yeah. If you want to do the Tesla thing, the autopilot, that's fine.
Bro,
I
that's what
think
really
it would've
pissed me off.
been-
That's what really got me. I was sitting to myself, I was like, you pretty much recreated the original like ending, but you made it like new age. You know what I mean?
I think it would have been a more effective ending. First of all, you would have wanted to get the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, it would have been a more effective ending if they would have done kind of along the lines of what they did in the Texas Chainsaw remake from 2003, where Jessica Biel's driving down the street and Leatherface runs out from the side and he hits the car with the chainsaw, but she still gets away and he's just standing there in the rain, like angry, basically. I think if that's fine, he survived. I don't care that he survived, but I think it was kind of over sensational that he had time as the car was moving, even though the car was going like -6 miles an hour. Good Lord, do they drive any faster than that?
Yep.
I thought it was kind of strange that he had time to hit it with the chainsaw, reach in, grab her, decapitate her, and then hold the head up by the time she looked out the sunroof.
Yeah, dog, that car was on parade mode.
I was like, are you kidding me? Like that was dumb. Like it was a terrible. If they were going for kind of a shock ending, it was less shock and more like it just irritated the crap out of me.
Yep.
It really did. It like I was kind of irritated after that. I was like, okay, that was kind of a waste of an ending and the waste of being engaged in these characters. Like, I think it would have been much more effective. Even if they put the sunroof down, even if maybe it would have hit her arm, like if he would have just swung the chainsaw as they drove away and it hits her arm, maybe it cuts her or it kind of slices up the side of the car and they drive away. They're scared and screaming. And maybe it ends the same way the original ended, of him just swinging the chainsaw in the sunrise. And it just cuts to black. I think that would have been a much more effective ending because you can still do the post-credit scene, which I thought was great, of him going back to his house. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. You can still do that. Just, I don't understand why they had to kill her. Like, I don't think it added anything to the movie for her to die. It like I said, it actually irritated me more than it was like shocker death. Like, holy crap, I can't believe they did that. No, I was just kind of like, are you kidding me? I can't believe they just did that. Like, why?
It pissed me off the most.
We made it this far. Why did you do that? You know?
Yep.
So, listen, overall, I think it did some things very well. I think it had a lot of issues as well. And it's funny because a lot of the issues that I had with it are not the issues that I thought I was going to have with it. A lot of the issues, especially at least for me, were in how much it related to the original, because I felt like largely it did not really relate to the original at all. I didn't feel like it was a legitimate sequel to the original film. I didn't get that vibe. I wish they could have connected it a little bit more to the original in terms of in many ways, in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the feel, in terms of the story, and making it feel like this is a logical next chapter in the story.
Not a logical story, but like a logical chapter to the fucking franchise. Yeah.
I mean, listen, they could have done exactly what they did, but I think you could have added maybe 10 minutes. And I mean, it was a pretty short movie. It was only like an hour, and I think it was 70 minutes. It was an hour and 10 minutes.
Yep. Did you feel like it was rushed?
Credits. Yeah. Like I said, I think you could have added just maybe even 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just added a little bit of time and explained, like I said before earlier in the show, bridge the gap between 1974 and 2022. It just felt like if you took out Leatherface and if you took out Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you could have slapped a different killer and it just would have been its own movie. You know what I mean? It didn't feel, other than the opening and other than the Leatherface character, it did not feel like a logical sequel to the original. Now, here's where I said horror fans are going to want to kill me. I'm not saying both movies are not very good, but I'm going to be honest with you all. For me, Texas Chainsaw 3D is a much better sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre than Texas Chainsaw Massacre is.
It's bold. I've never seen
It's
Texas
a
Chainsaw
bold
3D.
statement. I think it's a much better film. I think Leatherface feels more like he felt in the original. Listen, I'm not a fan of do your thing, cuz any more than anybody else is. I think that's up there with Sally's. I'm the one that got away and I'm here to make sure you don't. They're in the same camp. I mean, they're both terrible lines. And that movie had terrible things about it too. But I felt like it was a sequel to the original film. It felt like the same characters and the same story. This doesn't really feel like the same characters and the same story. This almost feels like it's a spin-off of the original. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, it didn't have that feel. The characters I think were largely pretty lifeless. Again, other than that same core four, like Dante, Mel, Lila, and Richter, I felt like all of the other characters were pretty vanilla. There wasn't really anything special about them.
They're just meat bags for the story.
Literally, they were just meat bags. They were just there. They were just there for slaughter. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my main thoughts about it. My main gripe is I wish that it would have related to the original film more. I think that would have made it a much more effective sequel in the end. So, final thoughts, Miguel.
Final thoughts. Again, this is definitely, I would agree with you in regards to this almost feels like a spinoff to the original. I would agree with that. In regards to like Leatherface, I will say that they did Leatherface really well. After he went, like as soon as he went ballistic, Leatherface was pretty good. I would agree with. I'm pretty sure everyone can agree with me that Leatherface was Leatherface in this movie. But that being said, it's hard for us. It's hard. Like, how can I say this? It's hard for Leatherface to be scary anymore. I'm not gonna lie.
See, I disagree with that because I think he was pretty scary. I think he had his moments in Texas Chainsaw 3D. I think the reason I liked that version of Leatherface better, not that this guy did a bad job, I think he did a great job. But I think Texas Chainsaw 3D captured the quirkiness of Leatherface a little bit more than this film did. This film almost made him just seem like if you didn't know the history of the character, this would almost just seem like a
loose tiger.
I was gonna say a regular dude, but I mean he's a psychopath. That's not what I mean. But like,
no, it was pretty much just like a loose tiger out in the town, pretty much.
Yeah,
like
Texas Chainsaw 3D actually kind of played into the psyche thing, and he had his own little lair down there, and he was kind of like it dove into his psyche just enough where he needed somebody to take care of him, you know. And I guess you could say the same thing about this movie as well. But it just, I don't know. I think it did Texas Chainsaw 3D did the original much more justice than this sequel did. So
I can agree with that.
Before we get out of here, let's get these last couple of comments. J-Dead says, who knew Elon Musk was the real killer in the new TCM? They could have ended that movie a million different ways, but why they thought it would be relevant to have a self-driving smart car used, like what the hell? But that didn't bother me. Fact that whatever. I kind of was, I mean, it was dumb, but I could kind of get past that. But the fact that
It was the fact that they were forcing. There's a difference between like including next generation technology or like adapting next generation technology to things. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like the one in Halloween Kills. Again, I don't want to compare it, but when everyone gets that notification about like Michael or something like that, or something's going on, but like with this one, like it was just forced down your throat. It really was. It was like, hey, these are all a bunch of fucking gentry fucks that are just trying to like revitalize an old shacky town, and they're bringing all their technology with them. One of them is a fucking Tesla smart car, and what makes it even more hilarious was that they used a retro tour bus too.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
okay,
I saw that.
Sure, why not? And it was I don't know. It didn't make it any more frightening or unhinged with the fact that it was a self-driving car with her out the sunroof and like screaming for her sister. The fact that Sally was in the back of a truck barreling down with the guy that was driving and who didn't know what the fuck was going on, like that one seemed more like frightening than the fucking self-driving car, because it's like the automation doesn't really like it doesn't really do anything for me, like in that regards. Like you're in bumfuck Texas.
I don't know. It was strange. It was a strange choice, but like I hated that. Like J-Dad just said, for sure. Rush, the third act felt like they had run out of time filming. I would agree with that because Mel's dead. Listen, if you're gonna kill Mel, she's arguably the main character of the entire movie. Like
she was the one that went through the most growth. If I'm being honest,
if you were gonna kill her, it shouldn't have just been. It just felt like, and boom, we're done. There was no meaning to her death. It was just like, and suddenly she's gone. And now, bam, the movie's over, roll credits. And it was just like, it didn't add a shock factor. You know what I mean? There are instances where there's a death at the end of the movie where it's so shocking that you're like, I can't believe we just ended on that note. But this didn't do that for me. This was a failed attempt at that in my book.
It just felt chaotic. And I know that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is known for its chaotic nature, but again, I'm dropping my mic.
Again.
Yeah. But that's just another reason why I'm not really a fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it just feels way too chaotic for my taste. That's all.
I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 says, I didn't see it yet, but I heard but
wait, what?
Was it okay? I heard it was like Halloween 2018. It was okay. That it was we haven't given our rating yet. It was okay. It wasn't spectacular. Kind of like basically our rundown of what we said at the beginning in our non-spoiler part of the review. Sorry if we just spoiled anything for you. But what we had said earlier, basically, if you want a good slasher where you don't really have to invest anything in the characters and you're just there to see Leatherface stack bodies, this is going to be a great ride for you. If you're wanting a film with legit characters and you're wanting legit connections to the original and you're wanting this to feel like the next chapter in this franchise, you're going to be disappointed.
The best way I could explain it was the fact that if you're here for Texas Chainsaw Massacre lore, pick something else.
Yeah.
You're the best way I can explain it.
You're probably better off watching part 2, if we're being completely honest, or Texas Chainsaw 3D if you're here for the actual like storyline, because this movie really had and honestly, other than Leatherface, it had no connection to the original movie. It really didn't.
Fucking documentary
and the fact that the documentary and the opening credits with the narration and Leatherface was basically the only connection that this movie had, and the fact that it took place in the same town. There was no Sawyer house, except for there is a post-credit scene. I'm not going to give that away. There's
just did.
There's no characters. Okay, well, I didn't give away what it was. So make sure you stay to the credits. But nothing. It didn't add anything to Texas Chainsaw Massacre lore. J-Dead says, great Leatherface, good bloody kills, lack of story, and unique characters with a rush third act. Perfectly said, J-Dead. Perfect. I couldn't have said it better, my man. He said 6 out of 10. It's not awful, but it could have been so much better with a few tweaks and longer runtime. I completely agree, my man. It could have been a much, much, much better movie with a few different, I wouldn't even say tweaks. I would say additions. I think you could have, if they would have added, again, 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be a 2-hour film. I'm not asking for that. Just an hour and a half, hour and 25 minutes. I think they could have added a lot. And I think my score would have improved. For me, it's a 5.5. And that might seem kind of low. But it's a 5.5. I kind of feel just mediocre about it. I'm kind of indifferent. I'm like, I didn't hate it, but I also wasn't super in love with it either, So it's a 5.5 for me. Miguel, J-Dead's a 6 out of 10. I'm a 5.5 rating.
Dog, that's a 3.5 from me, fam.
Ha! Are you serious?
Yeah, and you know what I said last night? I said it was a 2.5. I said it was a 2.5.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. The reason why is a 3.5. I can give you 3.5 reasons. 1, Leatherface. 2, Mila. 3, Richter. And the 0.5, which is something we didn't talk about, which I loved, was the soundtrack.
Wow.
We didn't even talk about the soundtrack. The 0.5 was the soundtrack alone. Because anytime Leatherface's presence, anytime Leatherface was shown,
it did have some pretty good music.
It made it really eerie. It made his presence known.
Yeah,
that the fact that he was there.
And I will say the music in the opening credits and the music in the closing credits was dope. Mm-hmm. I really I enjoyed the opening credits and the closing credits. It was part of my favorite. It was one of my favorite parts of the movie. J-Dad says Miguel just gave 0 S with that rating. That may be the lowest rating I think I've ever heard you give a movie since we started this show.
Like if I'm being completely honest, I'm not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan. I don't like the fact that it's really chaotic. There is literally no if you want to. I was excited to see this movie because I was open to the idea of just knowing more about Texas Chainsaw Massacre lore. But guess what? We got none of it. Instead, we just got a bunch of Gen Zers trying to revitalize a small broken town, but in a terrible way, killing the last resident, so to speak, of that town and unleashing Leatherface to kill them all. That's the same gist. There was no sense of remorse except for Mila, which is why I like Mila, because she's the only one in this fucking movie that had any sense of remorse. Not even Lila had any remorse to some degree. She was like, that's fucked up. But
You're
she
right.
didn't care.
Mel had the most of an arc.
Yeah.
Nobody else had as big of an arc in this film.
And that's why her alone has a point. Richter was the same way because he had disdain for that group, but he understood the situation, or the gravity situation, and had sympathy for him. That was complex enough for me to give it to him. And the fact that he put up a fight I wanted that level of a fight with Sally, not Richter. Granted, Richter was cool, but I would much rather see that with Sally, and I didn't get that. Yeah. Then again, I would have much rather see Richter keep going throughout the entire movie too. I would have much rather had the lore. I would much rather build off more of the lore. There's plenty of additions, like you said, that we could have added. One was Richter. It would have been much more interesting to hear that Richter was one of the orphans and he grew up with Leatherface, but he didn't know that he was Leatherface. That would have made this story much more complex.
I think there are little things that you could have added here and there that would have made it all the better. Like it really would have helped it a lot.
Yeah, plenty. But I think that this was just way too rushed. This movie was, I'm pretty sure it was so thrown under the rug because of how long it took for this movie to be made.
And well, it was not even necessarily how long it took, but like we didn't hear anything for so long. And then we found out it was going to Netflix and it was like, okay, well, that's not a good sign. No, it was just like a nonstop trail of like, well, that's not a good sign. That's definitely not a good sign.
We saw the red flags.
Test screenings aren't looking good. So it was kind of like it was like, whoa, okay, whoa. Like, why is this starting to look kind of sketchy? So, listen, it was a lot better than I expected it to be. It was a fun ride. It was a fun watch. I will go back and watch it again. Eventually, not yet. Just like how I still haven't watched Halloween Kills. I've seen Kills twice. And I purposely haven't watched it again because I wanted to just let it marinate for a while. I enjoyed Kills more on the second watch. Maybe I'll enjoy this film more on the second watch. I didn't hate it. I really didn't. I didn't hate it. I expected so much more. I wanted so much more.
I was disappointed.
You know what I mean? I wasn't necessarily disappointed because I knew it was going to be bad, but I wanted so much more out of it. So before we go, JDit says, thanks for the stream, guys. I'm going to watch the beginning in a few. Have a good one. Also, I love y'all. Rate honestly. I love that you all rate honestly and not just to be like everybody else. Well, we try to. I mean, what's the point in hiding how you feel about it? I mean,
bro, I'm not going to watch a movie and say, oh, it was great. No, if it fucking sucks, in my opinion, I'm going to say it. And trust me, guys, there are plenty of movies that I believe suck major balls. My opinions in movies are vastly different than Brad's and vastly different than a lot of people. And that's why I think the two of us genuinely love having these conversations, because sometimes we connect and sometimes we're vastly different in our opinions.
Well, and that's why that's part of what I love about doing this Purely and Simply Evil show, which is, if you don't know, if you're new, that's our horror show. That's what I love about this is like Miguel is kind of slowly being introduced to all of these horror films that I've watched my entire life. So like, it's cool that you get both sides of that, because I feel like that's different. Even when we watch even Marvel movies, even you and I have a lot of the same opinions about Marvel movies. But we, as you said, we also have a lot of really different opinions about certain things too. So I think it's cool. And again, that's what's so cool about this whole movie YouTube community is, everybody has different opinions. I mean, you can listen to what we say and it'll be completely different from what other people say. I mean, and especially I've really noticed it in the horror space, because I feel like that's kind of, we've talked about that before.
It's cut from a different cloth. I'll say that right now.
It really is.
Horror genre fans are cut from a different cloth.
I mean,
you are either like for them or you're not. That's the best way I can say it.
I don't even mean that. I mean this, like the movie community on YouTube, this online movie community. I mean, we can do an episode and talk about Marvel movies, which is something that we are both incredibly passionate about. And, there's some conversation going on, but we can talk about horror and the conversation is endless. I mean, people are chiming in left and right. I think it's cool that we can be a part of this like online YouTube movie community, especially sharing the screen with so many other great channels. For the exact reason that you just said, Miguel, is that like everybody's got their own opinion. And if you like a movie or if you don't like a movie, why sugarcoat that? Like, just be honest, because it's not like everybody's going to have the same opinion. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to have their own opinion. And that's what makes these conversations so cool and so much fun, is because, I mean, anytime you talk about art, everybody experiences art differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
so I think it's just, it's cool. We're really blessed to be a part of this.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, like, honestly, like, I know some people usually just choose to hate a movie just to hate it despite everyone else. Because you know how the thing is, like, there's like a collective like, oh, that movie's great. But then you have that one guy who's like, movie sucked. Why? Don't know. It just sucked. Yeah. No, like, I have my legitimate reasons for why I didn't think the movie worked.
Right.
There's plenty of movies that I love that Brad hates. There's plenty of movies that I love right now that a lot of people don't like. So that's
Listen,
fine.
I'm gonna be straight up with you. Them old Godzilla movies,
not my cup of tea.
It's not my cup of tea. But you love them though. You love them.
Yeah. So it's just the way it is. Like, you guys love these old horror stuff, and I'm open to watch them. But I mean, if I'm feeling froggy, if I'm feeling bored, I'm not gonna put on Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm not gonna put on Halloween. I'm literally gonna put Godzilla versus fucking Gigan in 1973 and just like have that as background music because that's what I like to watch. So, I mean, again, we're all just cut from the different cloth and we just like what we like. So, I'm excited to do more of these. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really that excited for Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it's just not my cup of tea. But guess what? I am down to watch every single one of them if we need to. Just so I can see which one I like because there's a lot. There's a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I didn't think there was.
There's not that many compared to some of the other franchises. There's not that many at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll like I think you'll like the original.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll be okay with Texas Chainsaw 3D. The remake the remake is spectacular. I think it's one of the best remakes of all time. Not of a horror movie.
2003.
I think that remake with Jessica Biel is spectacular. I think it's a fantastic remake of any film, not just a horror film. So yeah, I think we'll have some fun with the Texas Chainsaw series, and we're probably not like Halloween. We've pretty much gone in order with a couple of other films. The next franchise we're gonna look at in Purely and Simply Evil and take a deep dive into is A Nightmare on Elm Street. We'll pretty much do those in order with a few other films thrown in. Friday the 13th, same thing. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the sequels are so far removed from each other, it doesn't even really make sense to do them in order, you know? So we'll intersperse those throughout the next couple of seasons of Purely Simply Evil. And as we just said, we're just getting started with that. I mean, we're gonna have a blast with season 2, and we have a lot of stuff planned for season 2, and I think it's gonna be a real fun time in everybody's pants. So we are at 2 hours in. 2 hours into the show. I just looked at the clock. I didn't realize we were 2 hours in. But that's gonna do it for us for episode number 62 of Let's Talk Movies. We want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you are watching after the fact, if you are watching the replay on YouTube, or if you are listening on Spotify or any of the other podcast platforms, remember that our live shows are on YouTube, and then you can go back and listen to the replay either on YouTube or on any of the podcast platforms the next day. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. If you are listening after, I know I just said that like 5 times. I'm going in circles right now. Make sure that you leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Where does it fall in your ranking of the entire franchise? Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at We Talk the Movies. We do new shows every single Tuesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern. And we have some fun stuff coming up. So we will talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night. Happy Wednesday, happy Thursday, happy Friday. Maybe see you Saturday. Not sure yet. But we'll
see you Saturday.
We'll see you Saturday. Peace.
Peace.